Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are stepping onto the sidelines of grassroots football, but we aren't talking formations or match reports.
No, not today.
We're discussing something far more critical, actually. A huge challenge. The massive and, frankly, dangerous gap in how youth sports handles neurodiversity, mental health, and, crucial safeguarding.
It's a big one.
We've been diving into sources that paint a pretty stark picture. You've got volunteers, coaches, welfare officers, safeguarding leads, trying their absolute best, really.
Absolutely. They care deeply.
But they're being failed by a system that feels outdated, fragmented, just not fit for purpose anymore. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Our mission today, to really analyze why the traditional model, the one-off courses, the online modules for safeguarding and inclusion, why it's simply failing grassroots football.
Mm-hmm.
And then, crucially, explore a more comprehensive, ongoing system, something designed not just to bridge those gaps, but maybe even structurally transform the whole club environment.
And the urgency here is, well, it's palpable. Sources suggest grassroots football is running about 5 years behind where it needs to be.
5 years?
Yeah, on proper inclusion, neurodiversity awareness, essential mental health support. And what makes this gap even wider is the sheer complexity of players' needs now.
Right. It feels like it's increased a lot.
Massively. We're seeing more neurodiverse players than ever. Kids with ADHD, autism, anxiety, sensory overload, emotional regulation difficulties. This isn't niche anymore.
No, it's mainstream grassroots now.
Exactly. And the core challenge, as the sources really highlight, isn't that volunteers don't care. They do.
Yeah.
It's that the system itself is broken. It leaves these dedicated people exposed, isolated.
So the focus needs to shift.
Completely. Away from just, single session, tick-the-box training towards continuous embedded support, real support.
That structural failure,
Yeah.
It leads straight into what we're calling the isolation crisis, doesn't it?
It really does.
Think back, maybe, to how getting your coaching badges used to work. You'd spend weeks, perhaps, with other coaches learning in person.
Yes, swapping stories, strategies over coffee.
Exactly. Building those essential peer networks. That relationship stuff, it was foundational for managing tough situations later on.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You knew who to call, who'd understand.
But the shift to solitary online courses and COVID definitely sped this up. It created a huge void.
Mm-hmm.
You click through modules, answer some multiple choice questions, get your certificate, and then you're back at your club, alone, armed with theory, maybe, but no real practical support network.
And the consequence of that is incredibly damaging. You have coaches, welfare officers, safeguarding leads completing these mandatory, but let's be honest, often ineffective tick box modules.
In isolation.
Totally in isolation. And then they're facing increasingly complex player situations, family situations, sometimes things with real clinical or legal weight.
With no backup.
Without any consistent peer support, they're just working in their own silos. And that knowledge from the online course, it just doesn't stick because there's no system for applying it, sharing strategies, getting feedback, or any follow-up.
So where do they go when they need advice right now, like mid-season urgent problem?
Well, this is where it gets worrying. The sources point straight to the unmoderated, often volatile world of social media.
Facebook groups and the like.
Exactly. Volunteers desperate for help join these huge Facebook groups. The source material actually calls them, and I'm quoting here, a cesspit.
Oof. That's strong language.
It is, but it reflects the reality described. What's fascinating is the need is clearly massive. Tens of thousands of volunteers are in these groups.
Right.
But hostility often takes over immediately. Someone posts a vulnerable question, maybe about handling a player's meltdown, someone struggling with emotional regulation.
Wow.
And within minutes, someone, our source's nickname, Dave, shows up. Yeah, Dave. This archetype who tears the person down, says neurodiversity is a fad, or tells them to just get on with it, toughen up. You know the type.
Oh, I can picture Dave.
Yeah.
So people just get shut down.
Worse. The source says good people stop asking questions because they don't want to be Daved.
Wow. That's not just bad manners, is it? That's a critical failure.
It's a safeguarding and inclusion failure, full stop. There's zero quality control on the advice given. None. No verification of expertise, no protection from hostility.
So grassroots football is basically trying to solve its biggest, most sensitive inclusion challenges in the worst possible environment.
Pretty much. In the least supported, most antagonistic spaces imaginable. It really is a systemic failure.
And that systemic failure, it doesn't just stay online, does it? It brings real-world risk.
Tangible, growing risk. Especially legally, if we connect this to the bigger picture. we have to talk about the legal exposure for clubs.
Okay.
The Equality Act 2010, it's been law for, 15 years now?
Yeah, a long time.
Yet many grassroots clubs still don't seem to fully grasp their obligations, particularly around neurodiversity. Critically, neurodivergence can be considered a disability under this act.
Right, which means
Clubs have an anticipatory duty to make reasonable adjustments. They have to think ahead. Plan for accessibility and diverse needs before a problem blows up or a parent even asks.
anticipatory duty. That's the key phrase, isn't it? It's proactive, not reactive.
Exactly. It's not about waiting for a crisis or a complaint. It's about having systems in place and, crucially, documenting those reasonable adjustments.
Ah, the paperwork.
Yeah.
Or a lack thereof.
Precisely. If clubs aren't meticulously documenting what they tried, what adjustments they made, why they chose a certain approach, what worked, what didn't, they are wide open
To legal risk?
Complaints, tribunals, potentially litigation. That documentation isn't just admin. It's the club's evidence. It's their protection. It shows proactive care.
And that legal vulnerability. I imagine it ties directly into the friction we often hear about between clubs and families.
Absolutely. Parents, carers, guardians, PCGs, they're often struggling themselves, maybe trying to get support for their child's mental health or neurodiversity outside the club.
And they might not have guidance on how football fits in.
Exactly. So understandably, sometimes that frustration, that lack of understanding gets directed straight at the club volunteers.
Who are already feeling isolated.
Right. And without a shared understanding or a common language or agreed resources, it just creates conflict, constant friction, instead of a working partnership.
So what do the volunteers need then to handle that?
They need proper, ongoing, continuous professional development CPD, real training that continues, and practical football-specific resources, not just abstract theory from a PDF they downloaded once, things they can use to handle these challenges and, importantly, mediate that friction with families successfully.
Okay, so we've laid out the problems pretty clearly. Isolation, toxic online support, legal risks, friction with families. It sounds like we need something totally different. Integrated, bespoke, continuous.
That's what the sources point towards. A model that fundamentally shifts the definition of support away from just doing a course.
And this leads us to the solution proposed in the sources.
Yes. This is where we look at something like the FMHA Academy, the Football Mental Health Awareness Academy. It's presented as a structured, ongoing support system built specifically to tackle those structural failings in grassroots football we've been talking about.
Okay, but hang on. If the old model failed because knowledge didn't stick and volunteers are time poor, how does offering more training actually solve that? Doesn't that just risk more burnout or become inaccessible for clubs scattered geographically?
That's a really crucial question, and the way this academy model is structured seems designed to address exactly that. The first big difference is accessibility.
How so?
Unlimited seats. For the entire club, every coach, welfare officer, safeguarding league gets access to the core face-to-face training. Things like understanding neurodiversity, mental health first aid.
So it's not just one person going off to get trained.
No, it's about training the whole club consistently, getting everyone on the same page, using the same language. That alone starts to break down those internal knowledge silos and inconsistencies.
Okay, that makes sense. Whole club access. And what about the knowledge sticking problem? You do a workshop, and a month later.
You've forgotten 70% of it, right? That's the stat.
Yeah.
So to tackle that, the model includes monthly expert-led CPD sessions, online, accessible.
Continuous professional development.
Yeah.
Ongoing.
Exactly. And led by actual specialists, neurodiversity experts, legal compliance folks, mental health practitioners. It ensures the learning is constantly refreshed, updated, kept relevant. It stops being a workshop you attended once and forgot.
And becomes more like an integrated professional standard for the club.
That's the idea. And structurally, this system also directly tackles the isolation crisis we talked about.
How?
It provides a safe, and this is key, fiercely moderated peer community built right into the system.
So not Facebook.
Definitely not Facebook. This is where volunteers can share challenges without fear of being daved. They can ask those tricky questions, swap strategies that actually work in a football context, and feel genuinely supported by peers who get it.
So it's a quality-controlled, supportive replacement for that social media cesspit.
Precisely. Breaking the isolation, building a real community of practice.
Okay, the structure sounds different, but what about the content itself? You mentioned practical resources.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here, I think, is the absolute focus on practicality. Like you said, coaches don't need academic references when a kid's having a tough time on the pitch.
They need something they can use now.
Exactly.
Solutions.
So what do these football-specific resources actually look like? Can you give some examples?
Sure. They're entirely actionable things like game day checklists designed specifically for managing sensory input for neurodiverse players, quick reference guides for on-field communication strategies tailored to different needs.
Emotional regulation toolkits a coach can actually pull out and use during halftime. Even templates like scripts for coaches to handle those difficult, sensitive conversations with parents about behavior or support needs.
So it's translating the theory, the research, the lived experience
into immediate, useful tools. And importantly, these resources are updated every month, keeping pace with best practices.
Now, you mentioned something else, the Parent Care Guardian Academy. Included for free. That sounds unusual. Why is that part of the system?
Well, think back to that friction point between clubs and families. This Parent Academy is like the secret weapon against that.
How so?
It's a completely separate space, its own monthly webinars, resources, peer support, but it's all geared towards equipping families, giving them the tools, the language, the understanding about their child's well-being, specifically within football and life too.
So the club benefits because the parents are more informed.
Hugely. You get educated PCGs. They understand the language the club is using. They understand what reasonable adjustments actually mean in practice. And crucially, they understand what's reasonable to ask for.
So it shifts the dynamic from potential adversaries
to educated partners,
Yep.
And that significantly reduces the pressure, the conflict aimed at the club volunteers. It's a massive win-win.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Building partnership. And finally, you mentioned protecting the club structure itself. Something about an app.
Yes, the Player Log app. It's mentioned as being in development, but the concept is designed specifically for that legal defensibility we talked about earlier.
How does it work? Logging behavior. Isn't that risky?
It's not just about logging behavior. It allows coaches to quickly, under 2 minutes, log observable player moments, maybe signs of distress or difficulty.
Okay.
But here's the key bit. The app then suggests evidence-based, reasonable adjustments based on that input. It guides the coach.
So it prompts the adjustment, not just records a problem.
Exactly. And the coach logs the adjustment they made and the outcome. That functionality is designed for legal compliance. It creates that documented, time-stamped trail.
Proof of action.
Proof of observations, adjustments tried, results seen. It demonstrates the club is meeting its anticipatory duty under the Equality Act. It moves clubs away from guesswork and hoping for the best.
Towards having clear, documented evidence of proactive professional care.
That's the goal.
Right. So to sort of synthesize this whole deep dive, it feels like grassroots football clubs fundamentally need two things right now to move forward properly.
What would you say they are?
First, that systemic, ongoing professional development, something that keeps pace with the increasing complexity of player needs.
Agreed. Continuous learning, not one-offs.
And second, those evidence-based, really practical tools, things that bridge the gap between academic research or theory and the lived reality on the pitch side.
Absolutely. It has to be usable. And this kind of ongoing system, like the academy model, it's designed to tick both those boxes. Enable clubs to create a genuinely psychologically safe environment for everyone.
Reduce that scary legal risk by actually documenting compliance.
Yep. Making it visible. And showing that visible commitment through things like accreditation, CPD certificates to players and parents. It's about pushing clubs beyond just ticking mandatory boxes.
Towards a genuine, professional, proactive standard of care.
That's it, precisely. Moving towards professionalization, really.
And as we close out today, we have to share this piece of feedback. It really stuck with us. It's from one delegate who attended this type of ongoing support system.
What did they say?
They said, "It is a travesty that this is not mandatory."
Wow. That hits hard, doesn't it?
It really does. And given everything we've discussed today, the critical gaps in safeguarding, neurodiversity support, legal compliance, the sheer scale of the need, and the fact that there are seemingly readily available football-specific ongoing solutions designed to address every single one of those gaps, it leaves us with a pretty important question for you, the listener.
Which is?
Why is this vital, practical, arguably legally necessary training and ongoing support still optional? Why isn't it a mandatory integrated part of core coaching qualifications across the board?
Something to definitely mull over as you head back onto the pitch or the sideline or wherever you engage with grassroots football.